Hello and welcome to the Minimum Competence episode for Friday, May 9th, 2025. I'm your host for today, Andrew Leahy, a tax and technology attorney from New Jersey. On today's episode, Justice David Souter's legacy, Trump's Fox-fueled DOJ reshuffle, and a detained Tufts student caught in the administration's latest crackdown. Let's remember, you make your choices and you live with them, and in the end, you are those choices. And read today's legal news. On this day in legal history, May 9th, 1974, the House Judiciary Committee officially opened its impeachment hearings against President Richard Nixon, marking a critical escalation in the fallout from the Watergate scandal. Chaired by Representative Peter Rodino of New Jersey, the committee convened to determine whether Nixon had committed impeachable offenses in connection with the break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters and the subsequent cover-up. The hearings were a culmination of mounting political and public pressure following revelations from investigative journalism, court proceedings, and the Senate Watergate Committee. The proceedings were televised, drawing intense national attention as Americans witnessed in real time a constitutional reckoning with executive misconduct. Over several weeks, the committee heard testimony and reviewed evidence, including the now infamous White House tapes that revealed Nixon's attempts to obstruct justice. The hearings underscored the seriousness of Congress's oversight powers and the weight of constitutional accountability. On July 30th of 1974, the committee approved 3 articles of impeachment against Nixon: obstruction of justice, abuse of power, and contempt of Congress. These charges reflected a broad consensus that Nixon had violated his oath of office and undermined democratic institutions. Faced with certain impeachment in the House and likely conviction in the Senate, Nixon resigned on August 8th of 1974, becoming the only U.S. president to do so. Chairman Rodino, a previously low-profile legislator, rose to national prominence for his steady leadership during the crisis. His role in navigating the deeply partisan and constitutionally fraught process earned bipartisan respect. Rodino continued to serve in Congress until 1989 and passed away in 2005 at the age of 95. David Souter, a former U.S. Supreme Court justice appointed by President George H.W. Bush, died at age 85 at his home in New Hampshire yesterday. Though expected to be a reliable conservative, Souter surprised many by siding with the court's liberal wing on major issues, including abortion rights, separation of church and state, and gay rights. He co-authored the pivotal 1992 opinion that upheld Roe v. Wade, warning that overturning it would damage the court's legitimacy, a view later overruled by a much more conservative bench. Souter also opposed the death penalty in cases involving intellectual disability and supported judicial limits on executive and legislative overreach. His 19-year tenure was marked by independence and restraint, and he became a symbol of the unpredictability of judicial behavior. Critics on the right, angered by his rulings, coined the phrase "no more Souters," prompting future Republican administrations to more rigorously vet nominees. Souter dissented in the controversial Bush v. Gore case and opposed school vouchers and government endorsement of religion, including public prayer and Ten Commandment displays. He played a quiet but significant role in defending detainee rights during the post-9/11 legal battles. A New England native and Rhodes Scholar, Souter was known for his minimalist lifestyle, distaste for technology, and preference for solitude. He never married, avoided Washington society, and retired early to return to a quiet life in New Hampshire, where he pursued historical scholarship and occasional judicial service. In his ongoing quest to staff the government with people he's seen on cable news, Donald Trump has named Fox News host Jeanine Pirro as acting U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, the nation's top prosecutor in its most politically sensitive jurisdiction. Pirro, a former New York District Attorney better known recently for her TV courtroom theatrics and 2020 election denialism, replaces controversial pick Ed Martin, who was pulled after Senate Republicans raised eyebrows about, among other things, his unapologetic defense of January 6th rioters. Announcing the switch on Truth Social, Trump hailed Pirro as, quote, incredibly well qualified, citing her time as a prosecutor, though most Americans probably know her from The Five, not from the courthouse. Pirro's name, notably, appeared in Dominion Voting Systems defamation lawsuit over 2020 election falsehoods, a suit Fox settled for $787.5 million. But hey, if you're a regular on his favorite network and say nice things about him, that's apparently the gold standard. Martin, meanwhile, didn't exactly get benched. Trump reassigned him to be a pardon attorney, associate deputy attorney general, and head of a new weaponization working group, which seems tailor-made to investigate Trump's political enemies under the guise of justice reform. Pirro joins a growing list of Trump-era appointees whose primary qualifications include screen time on Fox News. With Pete Hegseth and Sean Duffy already in the administration, it's clear the only law school that matters to Trump is the University of Primetime Opinion. A federal judge in Vermont will hold a bail hearing Friday for Rümeysa Öztürk, a Turkish doctoral student at Tufts University, who's been held in immigration detention for over 6 weeks. Rather than wait for the Trump administration to comply with an earlier court order to bring her back to Vermont from Louisiana, Judge William Sessions ruled she can appear remotely. Öztürk was arrested in Massachusetts in March, shortly after co-authoring a pro-Palestinian op-ed in the campus newspaper, a move her lawyers argued triggered her detention. The case has become a flashpoint in Trump's push to deport pro-Palestinian activists, particularly those affiliated with U.S. universities. After being shuffled between states, Ozturk's lawyers challenged her ongoing detention as unlawful, especially since she was in Vermont when her legal challenge began. The Second Circuit had just granted the administration an extension to transfer her by May 14th, but Ozturk's legal team argued that waiting another week could worsen her health, citing a series of escalating asthma attacks in custody. The government protested that Friday's hearing might conflict with the appeals court's timeline, but the judge seemed more persuaded by the urgency of Ozturk's condition. Her lawyers, including those from the ACLU, say the delay is unnecessary and harmful. And with that, and as always, I thank you so much for listening to Minimum Competence, your daily news podcast for lawyers. If you're looking for more than Minimum Competence, links to further reading on all the topics touched on today are in the show notes. And reviews go a long way towards helping new listeners to find our show. If you have a moment, leave a rating or review on your podcast player. We'd sure appreciate it. And if you know someone that might be interested in a story we cover, consider sending them the episode. But remember, nothing here should be construed as legal advice because it is certainly not that. Minimum Competence is available at minimumcomp.com and wherever it is you get your finely crafted podcasts. If you haven't checked out the website in a while, give it a look. There are complete transcripts and resources for each episode and its corresponding segments, as well as an opportunity to receive new episodes in email, newsletter, form. We'll see you back here on Monday, and until then, note, we like to close out the week of shows with a featured musical piece. That will make these Friday episodes seem especially long. We hope you'll stick it out and enjoy the featured piece, but if music, and specifically classical music, isn't your bag, we get it. Our mouth sounds unrelated to the week's closing music ends here. This week's closing theme takes us back to the vibrant world of North German Baroque with a short, spirited gem from Dietrich Buxtehude, Canzonetta in C major. Buxtehude, who died on May 9, 1707, was one of the most influential organists and composers of his time, best known today for the impact he had on the young Johann Sebastian Bach, who famously walked over 250 miles to Lübeck just to hear him play. Though much of Buxtehude's output was liturgical or improvisatory in nature, the canzonetta is a delightful exception, playful, nimble, and full of personality. Written for keyboard, this short piece showcases Buxtehude's knack for rhythm and counterpoint without the weightiness of a fugue or choral fantasy. The canzonetta format itself, essentially a lighter cousin of the canzona, offers him room to experiment with melodic interplay and bright harmonic shifts, all in under 4 minutes. It feels less like a stern organ master at work and more like a clever musical mind having a bit of fun with form and phrasing. The piece is brisk but unhurried, ornate without being fussy. It's exactly the kind of music that hints at the roots of later Baroque developments, particularly in how themes are traded between voices and playfully developed. In its buoyancy and wit, the canzonetta reminds us that even in the sacred heavy world of 17th century North German music, there is space for charm and cheer. As we wrap this week, it's a fine reminder of Buxtehude's range and why his influence has echoed so far beyond the centuries he lived in. Without further ado, Dietrich Buxtehude, Canzonetta in C major. Enjoy.